And welcome to Just Ask Joyce. I'm Joyce Oglesby, your Family Life Fix-It Pro. Guys, we have a great show lined up for you today. And just in case you wondered, it is going to be about work. You know, we've been trying to clean up messy homes this year on Just Ask Joyce. And the more I talk with people who are out of jobs, the messier their homes become. And I pray that you are not one of those people who has been riddled with that dilemma in today's culture, but likely you know someone who is. But did you ever think about the fact that our digital world is going to put a lot of people out of business? And I already have seen it coming. In fact, someone I know works for a company who designs programs specifically directed to make people's jobs go away. That disturbs me. When I was talking about it, I just thought, what a fascinating job you do. What exactly do you do? And of course, he creates programs that are just computer generated. And when a company buys that program, it puts some 1,500 people plus out of jobs. Now, of course, it varies with the size of the company, but this particular gentleman targets large companies. And he says usually 1,500 to as many as 3,000 people are out of jobs overnight when they buy this program. And my heart just sank for the people who have to endure this kind of dilemma. Like, what do these families do? And as our world progresses, I think that we're going to see a little bit more of this. The millennials move up in corporations. Things are changing. More technology is incorporated. And of course, as a court reporter, I've always wondered when we would be put out of business. And the more I see on the court reporting end, there's always got to be someone there to manage that machine. And so I think a warm body is going to be necessary at all times. We've felt pretty secure in that kind of job market. But there are some out there that we see the trends really changing. And do you have a safety net? Are you up and coming? And I know that some of us in that baby boomer generation, we look at that, and sometimes technology challenges us. And some of us may get up to speed enough to manage it, but we're really not savvy enough to land those really big jobs. And so we find ourselves in early retirement or taking lesser wages or being demoted or being fired because new and innovative young people come up that can manage those devices. And, so where does this leave us? Well, we have an expert on the show today that's going to help us with this, Dr. Tracey Wilen, who is a prominent thought leader on the impact of technology on society, work, and careers. And she's been a scholar at Stanford University and has held leadership positions at Apple, HP, Cisco, and the Apollo Group. Dr. Wilen has authored 11 books, and her newest one is Employed for Life, 21st Century Career Trends. It's going to be a really fascinating show. I know she's appeared on CNN and Fox. I've seen her. She's been on CBS News and the Wall Street Journal, Chicago Tribune, Forbes, Los Angeles Times, and USA Today. She frequently contributes to the Huffington Post, if you ever go there, as well as the Examiner and the Christian Science Monitor, and is on radio shows across the U.S. weekly as an expert guest. And today she's on Just Ask Joyce, by the way. She's a global speaker on the impact of technology on work, careers, and women's leadership. And she's been honored by the San Francisco Business Times as a 2012 most influential woman in Bay Area business. So she is going to be addressing this topic today. Whether you think this might affect you or not, I would encourage you to tune in to today's show because it could affect you in times to come, regardless of what age you are. regardless of what age you are. That is how fast technology changes, as you well know. But we're going to just take a look at how that is going to look on the horizon right here in our culture. Guys, of course, February the 14th, I'm going to be the pro-life speaker at a New Hope Pregnancy Center. Yesterday, you heard that programming, and I pray that you will take advantage of that, because abortion is not just one community's issue. It is all of our issues. And I say issues because there, of course, abortions at multi levels now. But I was chagrined. I don't know about you, about our Congress not enforcing or not passing this new law, just blocking abortions after a certain number of weeks. It really, really disturbs me. Of course, I feel like we should roll back the hands of time and completely do away with Roe v. Wade. That's my strong opinion about that. I don't believe that there's any time that any abortion is right. And I'm sorry, you may differ from me on this, but I don't believe it's right for rape. I don't believe it's right for incest. I don't believe it's right under any condition, because this is a voice that has no choice. Now, you have an opportunity to make a decision whether you will go and spend money at a restaurant with your significant other, your sweet somebody, maybe your family. You take your whole family out for Valentine's, but you have a choice that you can go and support, just a local restaurant, or you can come and support a New Hope Pregnancy Center right there in Shepherdsville. I would encourage you to do that. Go to a New Hope PRC.com and register right there. Go ahead and make your reservations. Take the family. They have childcare provided. That's going to be February the 14th. You can't forget the date because it is Valentine's night. The doors open at 5:00, and they have, of course, a silent auction that you'll be able to participate in. And then the meal and everything begins at 6:30. Again, I will be the keynote speaker there. I would encourage you, spend your money wisely this February the 14th and help a child. Help save an unborn's life. That would be so much better than what you will do with that food. I mean, we eat, and we eat for what? I eat to live. Some people live to eat, but I hope that you will eat to save a life. This time on February the 14th. I hope that they have to turn away people because they are sold out. This is my prayer for this little organization, and I pray that you will join me in that venture. That is February the 14th again. And tickets are only $30 a piece. You're going to spend that much on a meal if you go out. And so even if you went and didn't give them $1, which I believe that you will, and you don't have to pay for babysitting because, again, they have childcare. So would you just consider saving a life instead of just loving each other this year? Would you love extendedly and reach out that hand to the unborn this February the 14th? Joyce's quote for the day: God's glue can best repair this broken world. And indeed it can. If you have a relationship issue that you would like to send to me, would you do that? I just would appreciate that so much. I look forward to your emails. Of course, you can find me in Today's Woman magazine with a Q&A column there. Also, Today's Family, I am in their quarterly publication. And so you can find me there. I'll be in their February edition. Make sure you pick that up. You find those all over the place. And of course, in Kroger's and JC stores, and they used to have them at Panera, and I really wish Panera would get them back. And I keep encouraging you to just tap on Panera's counter when you go in there and just say, when are you going to get Today's Woman back? We really miss that. But of course, you can go online and check out my column there every month with Today's Woman. Just Google Today's Publications and it'll take you right there. You can see, or you can go to my website, Just Ask Joyce, and it'll take you there as well. But I would encourage you to send me your relationship questions. And if I can use it on the show, give me your permission and I will change it. I'll take out all the really sensitive issues that might identify some some person and, make it a generic question, because a lot of people have your same problem, believe it or not. So send me your email, joyce@justaskjoyce.com. Go to my website, check out my books and my resources there. Follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. It would behoove you to do so, for sure. Again, after we come back from this short break, we're going to be visiting with Tracey Wilen, and I know you're going to find this show really, really good today. It's going to be something valuable. You need to listen to this. And if you have kids close, let them listen too, because they need to hear about this, the trends about work and how they're going to change. We'll be back after the short break. Don't go away.
You're listening to Just Ask Joyce on WFIA, The Spirit.
And welcome back to Just Ask Joyce. Again, I'm Joyce Oglesby, your Family Life Fix-It Pro. And guys, cleaning up messes in homes, really good stuff when jobs are not in place. And Dr. Tracey Wilen is going to, as I said, be here with us to talk about how that is changing in our world today. Workforce trends are changing, Dr. Tracey. Thank you so much for joining us and talking to us about this.
Oh, thank you for having me, Joyce. I really appreciate it.
All right, so what's happening in the market today? I was just sharing with my audience about a gentleman that I spoke to who sells a certain product that is designed to do away with jobs immediately. As soon as a company puts this in place, the little computer just eliminates about 1,500 to 3,000 jobs for a large company. What's going on?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's quite interesting. I think what you're really talking about is that we live in a digital world, and technology has the opportunity to create, displace, and replace jobs. Mm-hmm. And so he's using a technology that obviously sounds like it's replacing some of the more rote jobs, probably software-enabled or hardware-enabled.
I know. It's so sad to me. I'm thinking, what are these families going to do? But, we really have to be on the cutting edge today with technology, or we're going to be left behind. Is that true?
Well, some of the research studies show that by 2020, over 70% of the jobs will have a technology component. And, you can see that today, whether you're in the travel industry, if you're in the media like yourself, if you're even in academia. Technology is just part of the job. And so I think one of the things that we can do is learn about the technologies, if we are in the workforce today, that are impacting us, so that we stay on top of it and that we can migrate along with the trend rather than being held back.
Well, the millennials are really on the forefront of some leadership positions. Would you say that they might be shoving out some of the ones who are not on the cutting edge of the digital technology world?
Well, the way you look at the millennials is I think that 2015 and later can be great opportunities, because we have the baby boomers, right, which is our 50-something plus, which is a very large population.
It is.
Around 77 million. And then we have our Gen X's, which are between 30s and 40s. And that's actually a relatively small generation. So as boomers are retiring, or in retirement age, I'll say, at the rate of about 10,000 per day, age 65, we're looking for people to fill in the pipeline or the leadership slots. So the next generation in queue is the millennials, and there's a very big generation, 83 million. So they have education, they're technically savvy, and they may be called on sooner than even they expected to, move into leadership positions. And I think that's very exciting, because many millennials would like that opportunity, but the key is that you have to show ownership of your career and really exhibit leadership characteristics.
You mention in the article that I'm reading that the corporation is a stop, not a destination. Now, I found that interesting. Why don't you explain to our audience what you mean by that? Because I love your take on this.
Well, number one is, we're living longer.
Right.
And people might remember National Geographic had an article that babies born today will live to 120, and many of us are living to 100. And so just by that fact alone of living longer, our work life is longer. could be 50 to 70 years rather than the 25 to 35 years that your parents may have told you to expect. So you may actually outlive a company, and I think you have to keep that in mind. In 2011, the average velocity of an adult working was about 11 job stops in their careers. And in fact, they couldn't even define a career, so they would say younger people will probably experience 6 to 7 careers because it's changing so much. So the corporation is not the destination anymore. It's a stop in your career adventure. It might be a 20-year stop, but you'll probably be doing a lot of things before that company and a lot of things after that company. And I think a lot of people today are seeing that freelancing and temporary work, portfolio careers are all part of a future workforce that maybe we didn't have in the past.
And, that's so interesting because, I'm part of that baby boomer generation, Dr. Tracey, and I can tell you, I remember the days when people held down the same job that was the only job they had, as a matter of fact. That was their first job full-time job they ever got, and they retired from that company. And, we used to term, people who hop from job to job as, as just that, job hoppers. And now that is more the norm than it is not, is what you're telling us.
Exactly. And in fact, many recruiters who I interviewed said that actually the sweet spot today is to spend about 5 to 7 years in a position or a job, because you got to remember people do lateral moves, and accomplish something, develop experience, skills, and quantifiable results, and then move on and build a skill in another area. And the reason is that running a corporation today is so much more complex than in the past. And promotion isn't really guaranteed if you know one thing, if you just know how to market. CEOs of today, executive staff, are really needing to have a well-balanced portfolio of experiences and skills, financial, marketing, sales, operations, so you can really run a company better. All of that just boggles my mind, because I know that people, I think of me as I have been, a business owner for many years myself, and I know that people came and trained on me, and then they would leave. And after I had invested so much time into a person, and then they would move on, and either start a company themselves and or go to work for someone else. And I'm like, but I trained you. I did the hard part, and now you're taking my, the expertise plus some of my, the modeling that I had in my company and what made my company successful, and then took it to, to create their own or to share it with someone else. And so I know that there's a frustration on the part of corporations when they see this trend coming. Any advice for them? Yeah, so a few things, because there have been studies done on this. Okay, so number one is the mindset of the employee and the mindset of the employer needs to shift. It is a two-way transaction. The company is not your family. It's there's a transaction between I, as an employee, will work for you. In exchange, I will get compensation. It might be pay, salary, and maybe benefits. I will get experience and I will get training. You, on the other hand, will get productivity, new ideas, experience, and hopefully aggregated skill sets. The studies that I'm referring to is that many have found that employees who have a positive experience in a company and then move on to other companies reflect positively back on the mother firm or the key firm that trained them. And that is done through either client referrals or bringing back business or doing some sort of two-way business with them. So, where many of us feel like, oh, I trained that person and they moved on, usually if it's been a positive experience, they'll bring back goodness to you. The other thing is what I've found over the years, as employees move on, newer employees come in with whole different ideas and different skill sets that I hadn't experienced before from previous employees. So I have found that it has been a benefit to have employees move and cycle through their careers and also cycle through new employees in my career. So process and protocols can help that, right? So how do you streamline that training so it isn't so time-intensive for the employer? Right. But I hear you.
All right. Well, Tracey, we've got to run for a break. We'll be back with more with Dr. Tracey Wilen. Don't go away.
You're listening to Just Ask Joyce on WFIA, The Spirit. Thank
you so much for joining me today. We're talking with Dr. Tracey Wilen, who is an expert on the trends in employment and how it's changing for our culture. You made mention, Tracey, that your next manager may be a software bot. How true that is, and you've talked a lot about that already. Anything else you want to add to that as we move on through the trends and how it's changing in our employment?
In terms of software, I think that people just have to, get a grip on the fact that software is, pervasive. Mm-hmm. And, we interact with it every day, and to keep on top of your job, can it be replaced by software analytics, artificial intelligence? So keep on top of the news and keep on top of your industry and read so that you can understand how to position yourself ahead of that curve.
Now, I'm going to get to something that really intrigues me as a Family Life Fix-It Pro, and that is society trends. And you made mention that 41% of Americans will not use their vacation time included in their benefits. Is that healthy for a family?
Americans are pressed for time. Not only do they say they're not using their vacation, they're saying they're not paying enough time with their kids, and they're not sleeping enough. But here's what I see, is that Americans are responding to that by developing products and services to relieve us from compressed time. And so in essence, we have become an on-demand society, and it's happened very quickly. You think about it, you get overnight or same day shipping now, which really didn't exist a couple of years ago.
Right.
We want our music on demand, we want our spa appointments on demand, we even want our dates on demand. And this to me is societal job creation. For Amazon or Google Express or whatever is in your area to deliver to you that fast, you need to have logistics, transportation centers, call centers, online services such as chat rooms, ordering services, retail, marketing, customer service, you name it. So on demand is a new societal trend that is actually facilitating, I think, a lot of job creation because we're in a digital world, a lot of these services can now exist that didn't exist before. Pretty exciting.
It is pretty exciting, and it's kind of the upside of, how we started this on the downside that, we're going to be replaced by machines, computers, devices, but it is creating a whole new different job market. But we have to embrace the idea as well. And I think that a lot of people, or I will say that I speak for some that I have spoken, that I've talked to who have lost their jobs, they feel so hopeless now because this is the only skill set they have. And, it's not difficult to reach out and find some of these jobs because anybody can drive a truck, right? Or a car for transportation. So Tracey is giving you some ideas. Now, Tracey, you talk about sharing economy. Now, that's interesting. Sharing economy. How do we do that?
Well, it even has another term called commerce, and it's a $26 billion business, again, that just happened. Why buy when you can share? People are sharing their homes and making money using services like Airbnb. People are sharing their cars. Now, Uber and Lyft and all of these carpooling services have just hit the nation by storm. And I look at that as, wow, that's a societal trend of saying, I own an asset. It's an expensive asset, a car, registration, maintenance, and parking if you live in an urban area. Do I really need this car anymore? and maybe the public transportation isn't up to snuff or too expensive for me to afford. So now you have a sharing economy, and people are sharing their cars, and it's pretty nominal to get rides around town. In fact, some people are saying that Uber has become the family chauffeur, because there's all these moms who were driving their kids around to soccer, and now they can coordinate with Uber a carpool ride, and they can get their kids brought to the soccer field together while they can go do other things. In addition, I'm meeting a lot of women who are becoming Uber and Lyft drivers because now they have some time, or in between, their kids' days, they're deciding to pick up extra dollars. So it's fascinating. In fact, this year I even shared a Christmas tree.
Wow, now that's a different one. So something you had already decorated and you just shared it with another family?
No, actually, it's job creation now in the U.S. is there are forests and groves that grow Christmas trees, and they pot them in the dirt. They deliver them. A lot of these are actually hiring vets, and they deliver them to your home. You get to keep it for a month, so basically you're renting a live tree. Of course, they tell you how to water it and take care of it. Then you decorate it, and you undecorate it, and then they come and they pick it back up after Christmas, and they replant it in their forest or grove. Basically, to deter people from throwing their Christmas trees out on the street and in the garbage, after Christmas. So
now, it might be dangerous for me because I kind of kill everything. I do what they tell me, but I still kill them. We're going to run to a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to wrap up with Dr. Tracey Wilen. Don't go away.
You're listening to Just Ask Joyce on WFIA, The Spirit.
Thank you so much for joining me today. We are talking with Dr. Tracey Wilen, and she's been sharing with you about some of the trends in the workplace. Now, Dr. Tracey, we're going to kind of keep going where we were because you're telling us about some new ideas in the workplace. But I can tell you one idea that is never old, and I don't believe will ever die, and that is food. But we see such an influx on our televisions, with all the different series of the cooking shows, and they have their own network. And what is this? We've just become enamored, if you will, with food these days.
We have, and the good thing is, humans have to eat, so food is never going to go out. I think food's very hot because we keep inventing and reinventing it, and it's business growth. I mean, organic food, who knew about that growing up,
right,
is a $63 billion, business. Gluten-free is increasing at the rate of 10% a year, and over, almost half of us eat a vegetarian meal at least once a week. So food just creates incredible opportunities and job creation. I mean, even for farmers, from farmers market to farm to the fork, and now farmers have their own restaurants. It's amazing. I have a colleague of mine who said every time she watched one of these food shows, she literally goes out and spends about $100 in spices, pots, pans, because she gets so inspired that she wants to keep trying and making new things. So food, to me, can create so many opportunities in itself.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the scary side of this new technology that we're inundated with these days, whether we want to be or not. I don't care if you live in a shell. Somehow technology is going to invade your life at some point. But you talk about sector trends, and you have a subtitle under that about security. And we all want to be secure with this new invasion of cyberspace, but I'm telling you, as someone who has been invaded more than once, people hack into my accounts, I've been identity thefted, all of these things, it's a little frightening, and I don't know if I'll ever feel really comfortable. You have some tips for cybersecurity? Yeah,
so a couple of things is, I say if you're looking for jobs, and jobs trends of the future, sadly, I'll say sadly, security may be a safe bet for you. The three areas that have incredible growth is cybersecurity, which is growing at 12 times faster than the overall job market, and that is people who could combat botnets or data forensic or understand ethical hacking. Number two is physical security and protection. People are scared, whether it's the schools, the airports, a marathon, an event, or even the water systems. And I've met many people who are reinventing themselves and working as security people of all different levels, from blue collar to white collar. And the third area, which is the most robust, is terrorism.
Yes.
I was looking at job lists. They go on: undercover agents, data analysts, bomb detection, nuclear experts, biological and chemical weapons specialists. There's a high demand for people in security.
Oh, wow. And that's where we are today in our world. Just a little bit frightened with, and we try not to be fearful, but, we do have to be guarded in our security in all of these areas. And especially the more that we're exposed to the internet, I believe, I think our security, is less than it's ever been. The more we get invaded with this technology. But is there a way that we can feel secure about other than, I know we're talking about jobs here, but is there a way that we can feel secure, about, just partaking in this new digital world that we're in?
Yes, and I know that you asked me some tips. I think on a personal level, you need to protect, you understand that bad things happen,
right,
and there are bad people out there, whether they're ripping a receipt out of the garbage or invading your computer. So practice, safe computer skills. Number one is don't ever open up attachments or links from sources that you don't know. Number two is always back up your files. Number three, always run virus checks constantly. And if you are invaded, then you may need to do a data transfer, right? Take the data off your system, wipe it clean, and reinstall it. So it's just as we tell our kids, don't talk to strangers, don't put credit card receipts out in public view, don't leave cash around. It's the same philosophy. Just transition it to your phones, right, and to your computer. Don't open up apps or get apps that that are not user friendly or you don't know about, and you just have to practice safe computer.
Well, we'll get you back on your expertise here too as well, but thank you for all those tips. That's wonderful, and we can never be reminded enough. But all right, let's talk about finally some health care options that we have in the job market today, because this is a big thing. I mean, healthcare has been the topic of conversation since President Obama got into office, really. And so what are some of our options for the job market there?
So I look at healthcare, Obamacare has created a lot of confusion, and that has created jobs in itself between patient advocates and insurance and, people who can explain it to us. But I look more positively on two other areas. I look at our baby boomers as they approach retirement and increase in longevity. You have active and inactive. And on the active side, our boomers are looking at, how do I prevent myself from getting into the hospital or, having to go to the doctor? And I think they're driving a new area, which is very exciting, called wearable technology. How do I get watches and monitors and ways to keep on top of my own personal health? So I think that's exciting. There are also personal coaches, different kinds of activity therapists. On the inactive side, I see a very interesting trend. I see our older people saying, I don't want to go to an old age home. Even if I'm inactive, I want to stay home. And I want to bring services into my home, whether it be, food chefs, nurses, occupational therapists, different kinds of health aides, errand runners. And it's interesting enough, I just met a physician who said he's back doing house calls because the demand is so high now for boomers to have in-home services. Why not go with this trend? So I think that even healthcare can provide new job creation above and beyond what the traditional things that we think about, such as doctors and nurses.
Thank you. And, you talking about all these little devices that we wear, I've seen more young people with those Fitbits on than I have the baby boomers. But, Dr. Tracey, how can we access some of your expertise through some of your books? Go to your website. Tell us how we can embrace more of you.
Oh, sure, and thank you. My website is TraceyWilen.com, which is TraceyWilen.com. My Twitter is @TraceyWilen. Facebook is Dr. Tracey Wilen. And, of course, I'm on LinkedIn, and I love when people link with me.
All right. Dr. Tracey, thank you so much for your time today. I know it's valuable, but we appreciate you just honing us up a little bit about what the marketplace looks like out there in the future. God bless.
Oh, well, thank